I didn't want to make a video about Charlie Kirk as the whole media thing was going on. It kind of felt a lot like clickbait, even though I had many opinions about it. But now I think it's necessary, especially since there is someone out there attacking me. And I guess I should make my points clear. First of all, as we know, as the Catholic Church teaches, he's not a martyr. You cannot call him a martyr. For many reasons. First of all, because the Church, that's a judgment that only the Church can make on Catholics who die for the faith. That's number one. Second, because he wasn't in the faith, at least that we know of. And so a person has to be a Catholic. They have to die for the faith in order to be a martyr. That's not the case with Charlie Kirk, or at least, not externally, visibly. So on that count, we should not call him a martyr. Was he a person that had, that was a saint, that had all the right opinions? Of course not. He held to many opinions that were of liberalism, of opinions that are even condemned by the Church, some of them. And, well, he held Protestant views at some point. What should we think of him? Here's the thing. You're not God. You don't need to think anything of him, right? If there is good things about him, use those and be inspired by those things. And if there were bad things, then don't follow them. But was he a good man? Was he a bad man? Was he Catholic? Was he Protestant? I don't know. Nobody knows. Only God knows. The post that I did make was that I hope that he died in good faith. Meaning, I hope that he died pleasing God, because he was in invincible ignorance. So here's a part where this is interesting, where we should address some points. It is true that in order to be saved, you must belong to the Catholic Church. Now, you can belong to the Catholic Church visibly, having been baptized and all those things, or you can belong to the Catholic Church, you could say, in spirit, by baptism of desire, which is denied by many people out there with YouTube channels that might not be very clear and straightforward with that. A person might be ignorant of the true church through what we call invincible ignorance, meaning that through his efforts, he has not been able to come to the knowledge of the truth, and he would require some special aid to come to it. And so his ignorance is not something that he can conquer. And in those cases, that person could save his soul through invincible ignorance. And a perfect example of this is someone that when they try to find the Catholic Church, they run into Bergoglio. And they say, well, how can the Catholic Church be led by a Marxist, led by a Protestant, led by a guy that is holding all these erroneous views? And so at that moment, they come into an obstacle that they cannot, conquer themselves. Maybe they never had the chance to see the true view of the Catholic Church, the church that holds, as it should, that when a heretic becomes a heretic, he's no longer a pope. And so that person might be in invincible ignorance. They might not know the truth. And we don't know. We don't know if through that invincible ignorance, they might have saved their souls.
But the biggest one is the papacy. I can't get over the idea of this Marxist who calls himself the head of your church being a representation of Christ our Lord. I mean that as someone who loves the Catholic impact on the world, that says it openly, and by the fruit you will know it, and you have very Marxist fruit. Why should I care at all what that guy from Argentina has to say?
Well, because you care what your pastor has to say.
Yes, but if my pastor starts saying crazy things, I find a new pastor. So if your pope starts saying crazy things, maybe he's not the pope. And
Exactly. So the question that one might ask, that I ask myself, and I'm not a specialist in Charlie Kirk, I acknowledge, I don't know everything that he said, but the question that one might ask is, did he ever get to see what the Catholic Church really teaches? Did he ever see the vision of a Catholic Church where you don't have to be subject to some Marxist that claims to be the Pope, to the idea of sed vacantes? I don't know if he was. And well, we don't know where his mind was at the time of his death. My point with this video really, is not to defend Charlie Kirk or not to defend him. Is simply to say, you're not God. I'm not God. Nobody knows what happened with him in eternity. We know that being a Protestant, you cannot save your soul. We also know that you can save your soul if you're ignorant through invincible ignorance, if you're in good faith. And that's my hope, that he died in good faith. I think a more important point is actually what I had said in my post. And this is something that really gets me, and that's really the reason why I want to make this video, is that I don't want to hear your complaints. I just don't want to hear your complaints. You know, there are so many people criticizing this guy and saying, oh, he went to hell, he's a Protestant, this is cover up from the Jews and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Because you know what? You're not doing it. No one is doing it. I don't see any Catholics out there doing that. And that's the problem. If you have the faith, if you have the truth, if you know all these things, then why are you not fighting? Why are you not doing all these things that he did? And if it's a cover-up, then all the more. Go out there and undo this cover-up and do it. I'm not putting Charlie Kirk as an example. I never would, because he doesn't have the true faith. He didn't have the true faith, at least not visibly. Again, he didn't that we knew of. So I wouldn't put him as an example to follow. I would put him, however, as an example for emulation. What is emulation? That means that you see someone who is practicing certain virtues. He had moral virtues, I can say that. And you say, why am I not doing that? I should do it. And that is my point. You should be emulating these virtues. If there's a guy that doesn't have the faith, that is lacking all the sacraments that I have, that is lacking all the blessings that I have, and he's doing that and he's dying like that, why am I not there? Why am I not doing those things? I had this argument on Facebook with several people, and there was a guy, it just boggled my mind, when he was texting back and forth, arguing with me. And he said, he may be watching this video, that's the conflict that one has as a priest podcasting. Sometimes you'll meet these people as your parishioners. And I don't mean to be mean to anyone. But I also think it's important to speak these views. So this guy, he told me, you know, when he saw the death of Charlie Kirk, his first thought was, oh, if you sleep with the dogs, you'll wake up with fleas. You know, because he was in cahoots with the Jews, so that's what he gets. And to me, it's like, so that's so useless. That's so useless. I'm telling the truth. My first thought when I saw the video, when I see this guy being shot in the neck, or whatever you want it was, and falling down and his blood coming out, my first thought was, that should be my death. That should be me. It should be me there talking to these young people, to these lost souls. That should be me doing that. And really, I struggled for the next couple of days thinking, why am I not doing that? How can I do it? You know, one, as a priest, you have your parish, you have your duties. And I had to refrain. I have to refrain from a lot of the stuff that I would want to do or could do, I don't know. Because there's people here that could get shot, not just me. But that's my thing, is why are we not emulating these things? You know, when people see this, everybody piles up and say, why that's wrong? Why that's wrong? Condemn it, destroy it. And to me, is that's such a useless mindset. When you see something that is good but maybe not perfect, and maybe some things are good and some things are bad, you have two options. One is hijack it, Christianize it, make it Catholic. The other one is to condemn it, reject it, and become isolated. And we should not do that. We should be clear, condemn the evil things. I'm not saying that we should yield to error in any way, but I'm also saying, why are we not taking those movements and enriching them and actually making them Catholic? If people knew the truth of the Catholic Church, a lot of them would come and follow the truth about it. Maybe Charlie Kirk would have, if he had known about what the Church actually teaches about Marxist popes. It can become at times, you know, this thought kept coming to my mind, and I almost hesitate to say it. It sounds offensive, but I'll say it, harsh as it might sound. Sometimes we Catholics seem to be like cockroaches. And I'm sorry that I'm making this self-criticism. We go out and we are doing our own thing, and as soon as the light is shining upon us, as soon as we're in the spotlight, we run and hide. Because we're not supposed to be shown, because I have too many things to lose, because I have this and that. And that's, I guess, my point here. When I see this man, I don't care if he was good or bad. I leave that judgment to God. I don't care if he went, well, I do care, obviously. I hope he went to heaven. But it's not my business to say if he went to heaven or hell. What I see is something to emulate. I see that and I want to do it. I want to be the person doing that. I can't. Right now, at least, I can't. I really did look into it. I was actually looking into it. But that's my point. My point is, for us, especially for traditional Catholics, don't bash everything you see. Don't leave people without hope. We need to have hope. We need to see that the culture is changing, that people will change if we talk to them, that we should not isolate ourselves and be worried about and making a long video about why everything is wrong and everyone is condemned and all this stuff. Instead, give especially young people hope. Give young people a place to go, something to follow, excitement. You know, when I see this thing, I showed it. I showed it to my students, and I told them, this guy was wrong in this and that, and he didn't have the faith, not a martyr, and these opinions are wrong. But I want you to see the moral virtues. I want you to see the courage. I want you to see the ability to discuss, to debate, the fervor in debating, the strength to even though he was in the wrong faith, the strength that he had in defending his points of view. That I want you to see, the moral virtues. Could I show other examples of the saints? Of course, and I do it every day. But it's very powerful for them to see that there is actually people here at their age doing these things. You as a Catholic, you should do more. You as a Catholic, you have more of the truth. You have more means. You have the sacraments. Go and do it. Emulation. See these things and emulate them. Talking too much, but then again, this is a podcast. And this is not new. Like the authors, the spiritual authors in the 1600s, in the 1700s, in the 1800s, they would bring to mind even pagan acts of virtue to say exactly the same, emulation. If these people, with being pagans, practice virtue in this way, how can you, Catholic, not do better, right? That's the idea that we have here. So, a bit of a disappointment, thanks to my producer. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you if Charlie Kirk is in heaven or in hell. I can tell you that we should not call him a martyr. And I can tell you also that he's not an example to follow in the sense that he didn't have the faith. But I can also tell you that we can emulate those virtues. We can certainly show those virtues to other people so that they also emulate them. And we as Catholics, we should not squash every attempt of other people to do something good. Instead, we should take it, you could even say hijack it in a good way, and fulfill it, make it Catholic. And as Catholics, we should be also out there, socially, politically even, fighting for a Catholic country, fighting for morals, fighting for virtue. I was almost done, but one more point. Is the game rigged? Everything is rigged, Father. Everyone is Freemasonry. You can't get in politics. Yeah, I would accept that. And I'm sure that if I tried to get into politics or, involved with something like TPUSA, of course, it's going to last maybe 3 days because they're going to tell me, you know what? You can't do ecumenical things and you can't be a Freemason, then get out of here. Yeah, maybe it's all rigged. You still have to fight, though. You still have to fight. Even if we're going to lose, even if there's no way to win, even if you're fighting against all odds, we still have to fight. And even if you're going to get shot in the head, we still have to fight. In whatever way you want. If you're a housewife, raising your children to be true Catholics. If you're a father, raising your children to be true Catholics and assertive, and able to debate, and able to defend their point of views. As a teacher, you do the same. As a sister, you do the same. You're fighting that mission in that sense, to get those kids to be aggressive Catholics in the sense that they hold their views and they're not afraid of them and they go and debate other people for their faith. And if you're a priest, you do also your missions here and there. We all have that mission. But men especially, young men, it kills me to see them playing video games, playing Xbox, watching movies, going to the clubs and all that stuff. And then you see these guys doing that kind of stuff. You should be out there fighting, regardless of whether if there's victory at hand or not, regardless of whether if the game is rigged or not. You should not let the enemy take peacefully your country, your society, and your family. If they take it, even if they will take it, it should be with our fight to the end and making a living hell every step of the way that they take. They should not do it with us being idle. And that is pleasing to God. That is practicing virtue, and that is the part that I really wish we could emulate. Pray for me, and pray for all of us, that we can actually become what we ought to be. And that the next time that someone dies, shot in the head or in the neck, we can actually say, because he had the true faith and he was out there doing that we can say, that guy is a martyr and an example to follow. This is Father Carlos Cepeda for the Catholic Wire. God bless you.
You are listening to The Catholic Wire.